Good morning. We're going to talk about conquest and colonies today because you've already learned about the explorers and you've learned about the nations that are exploring. So now we're going to talk about how they're going to conquest or they're going to conquer, which is the root word, and draw an arrow outside of conquest and put the word conquer, and that they are going to establish colonies, okay? Or they're going to have colonization. So, the first group of people that are going to really truly colonize are going to be the Spanish. Remember that the Spanish were the second to explore. Portugal was the first. But Spain is going to build an empire, and they're going to build an empire in South America. So, the first thing that you need to understand is that they're going to set up the encomienda system. I like to compare the encomienda system to feudalism, and let me give you a couple reasons why. Colonists were given a certain amount of land. So first of all, when you think about a colonist, it's going to be a person who comes from their native country. So these colonists are going to be from Spain, and they're going to go and settle in South America, and they're going to take a piece of land. And what happens is the colonists are given a certain amount of land and a number of Native Americans to work the land for them or for him. And what's going to happen is that you're going to have this social hierarchy that goes on. All right, you have some natives working there. It's not a good system for the Native Americans. They're overworked. They have poor conditions. It made it bad for them. And also, guys, what I want you to understand is that Native Americans do not have the immunities to the diseases that Europeans and Africans and Asians have because they've never encountered these groups of people before. So diseases like smallpox, tuberculosis, measles will kill many of Native Americans. And when I talk about many, I mean a large amount of the population is going to die, like 90%. Now, what will happen, first of all, is that they will take Mexico. And Hernan Cortez, sometimes his name is spelled with an S, sometimes it's spelled with a Z, will lead an expedition to Mexico that will end in the conquest of the Aztec Empire. So he's going to go to Chichilan, and he is going to fight Montezuma, and he's going to take over this area. Now, Hernan Cortez is known as a conquistador. That's a very important word. And what do you see in the root word? Conquest. These men are conquerors. They're explorers that conquer and take new lands for their country. And so a conquistador is a Spanish military leader who fought against the native peoples of the America. So they go there, they fight, they take over the land. This is a painting of Cortez. As you can see, if you look at the imagery here, he has a sword, he's wearing armor, a sash, status, okay? You see this is power. And if you notice how the natives are painted, they don't have all this weaponry and this armor. So when you're looking, the Spanish arrive. Cortez is going to get there in the time of Moctezuma II, which is the leader of the Aztecs. And while the Aztecs were very powerful, they were unpopular among the people they conquered. Like the Aztecs had taken over many little civilizations around them, but they were unfavored, which means people didn't really like that they had taken them over, but they had to accept it because they were more powerful. This is Moctezuma. Okay, if you look at the piercings, scarves, which remember, guys, you've learned about the Aztecs previously in your Mesoamerica videos when we talked about our ancient civilizations. So remember that the Aztecs, as well as the Incas, when we talk about them, they were civilized. They had the 5 key traits of civilization. They had advanced technology for their area. Like, they were civilized. Here's the area. If you look here, here's Mexico. The green are the Mayans. And if you look at the triangle or this yellow color, the dots are the Mayan sites. The orange is the Aztecs, okay? And you have to understand that the Aztecs ruled over a lot of areas, okay? And you can see the Olmec and the Zoltec, and those are groups that you learned about in Unit 1. Now, Cortez had an advantage. He had armor, he had guns, he had horses. He had the help of other native tribes. What you need to understand is that when Cortez rolls in, they think that he is a god because he rides in on a horse. They've never seen horses before. He's wearing armor with this cross. And there's been like this prophecy story of God coming in with a cross on their shield or their garments. And so Cortez has this cross because, remember, they're spreading religion. He has armor, guns, horses. And the native tribes that see Cortez coming in from the exterior, they're going to ride in on horses, and they're going to look like gods, and so they are going to follow him and take on fighting the Aztecs with him, so they align with him. The Aztecs had never seen horses before, which gave the Spanish a big advantage. You have to imagine, like, we know what horses look like, but imagine a giant animal coming in on 4 legs, someone's riding on top of it, and you've never experienced it before. It's kind of like if an elephant ran through South Central High School. That would be scary to people because we're not used to that. On November 8th, 1519, Cortez and his army took the Aztec capital, which is Tenochtitlan. And although the two leaders agreed to meet peacefully, like Moctezuma, he feared Cortez, but he knew that he couldn't back down in front of his people. So what he'll do is he will agree to meet peacefully, but what Cortez will do is take Moctezuma captive and ultimately execute him. So it's kind of like, if you look, you think about the conquistadors act like they're going to make nice and play nice, but ultimately they end up killing the leader so that they can take power. And I want you to think about guns here. It only takes 1 or 2 or 3 people, like Aztecs, to get shot before everybody kind of follows what the Spanish want them to do, because there's a difference in technology. And you need to keep that in mind too. The natives are very civilized, but they didn't have the advancements in technology which gave the Spanish an advantage over them. Now, there will be the conquest of Peru. If you are confused about where Peru is located, you need to write next to Peru, South America, because that is where it's located. Francisco Pizarro will conquer Peru. And this is a picture of him. Notice the armor. See the sash, guys? This is power right here. He heard that the Incan Empire was very rich. Atahualpa had just become the new Incan Empire, or emperor, Miss Cannon, because smallpox had killed many people in the empire. You have to understand that diseases like smallpox and tuberculosis, the Native Americans have no immunity to it. They don't know how to fight it. It's not that they're weak people. It's just their bodies have never experienced it before. And so Atahualpa takes over because his brother and his father, I believe, and a lot of his family have been killed by smallpox, and he was the one living, so he takes over the Incan Empire. Here's an image. If you notice, he is wearing all gold, everything, because the Incas are very rich during this time. They have a lot of gold. They have silver, too. Shield, axe, even his garments have gold on them. Now, by 1532, Atahualpa is going to meet Pizarro, and Pizarro demanded that the Incans convert to Christianity and actually give over the empire. So Pizarro's like, look, this can go one way, or just really it can only go one way, and you need to go ahead and become Christians, and I need you to hand over the empire. Atahualpa is going to refuse, which as any other leader would, and so he is taken as a prisoner. And what he tries to do is bid for his life, and he says, like, I will give you gold and silver if you will let me be free and be with my people. And ultimately, Pizarro's like, thanks for the gold and silver, but I'm still going to kill you. And so what you have to understand is that there's a power struggle here between the Spanish and the Incans, just like the Spanish and the Mexicans, or not the Mexicans, Miss Cannon, the Aztecs. They were in Mexico. But you have to understand that there's going to be a struggle there. They're going to have a power struggle, but the Spanish constantly win because they have advanced technology of armor, guns, horses, okay? And the Native Americans are just culture shocked by all of this, and it hinders them in fighting this bigger force that's come in. The Spanish went to the Incan capital of Cuzco. They destroyed the Incan army, and then eventually they'll take over the empire. Now, life in a Spanish